order. I'm going to stand now for an invocation from Commissioner Linda Thompson.
Gracious God, we ask that your presence be with us as we begin this meeting. We come before you with thankful hearts during this Easter season for the many blessings you have bestowed upon our community. We pray for our Fire Chief, David Mixon, and his family at the passing of his mother. Comfort them during this time of mourning. We pray for our country, soldiers, and their families at this time of war, and a quick end to the loss of life. May there be a resolution for a quick recovery of our military engagement in Iran. Bless this commission, our staff, and all who serve the public. We pray for this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Carly, if you can call the roll, please.
Ettinger.
Here.
McAleese.
Here.
Thompson.
Here.
Reed. Henry.
Here. All right. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. This morning we're going to conduct an agenda meeting for the April 14th regular commission meeting, and that's going to be immediately followed by an administrative workshop. Right now we're just going to review the items we have for next week, and we've got the minutes from the March meetings to look at and approve. Of course, they will be on file in the office here if anybody needs to see them for any reason. And the other item we have will be a motion to authorize myself to execute materials release agreement with 72 Films for use of footage from Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton. And you want to wait till the workshop to
Either way, I can give you.
maybe give her just a,
Okay. There is a media company that is putting together a documentary about the storms that hit in 2024. They've asked for permission to use some of the footage that we have, since we had some pretty, we were pretty severely damaged. So some of the footage specifically, I believe, of our first responders out in like the boats. There was a home on fire in the Mid-Bible. So some of that footage, they have asked for permission to use that in a documentary.
So there's no cost to us, they just want to use this? Okay.
Correct, yeah. And it's gone through legal. They had a couple of red line suggestions that the media company agreed to, so as far as we know, we're.
And there's no, if there are actual people in those films, like our employees, our fire guys, they don't need permission for that, or that's already been taken care of?
There's no faces.
There's no faces.
No faces, okay.
So,
Or names on their jackets or anything?
there may be a name on a helmet, but all of that is public
Public.
information
That's
also.
true.
We posted it to the Facebook. It's
Yeah,
on-
it's footage that, as far as we know, everyone in the department has been
Yeah, there was some
happy
good
as,
films.
yeah,
Okay.
so.
That'll be good. Okay.
And they will tell us when the documentary's done so we
Yeah.
can see it?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So there's some-
okay. That's all we got then. That'll be good. It's going to be an easy meeting next week. All right, so does anybody have any questions? We're all good with the agenda? All right, we're going to adjourn this then, and we'll step downstairs, start our next meeting. All right, we're going to go ahead and call this workshop to order. And the first item we have, we're going to do roll call.
Nightinger,
Here.
McAleese,
Here.
Thompson. Here. Reed, Penny.
Here. All right, our first item is a discussion with Brett Burrish, HCA Florida Pasadena Hospital. Get an update. Everybody here know Brett?
At the fire station opening, I believe. That was the only time.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, I'll pass these around.
All right.
Do you guys need one?
Yes, please.
We got extras here.
We're good?
Okay.
Yep, or here, I'll grab one from Mary Jo. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. And speaking with Carly Lewis, this is really just an update on Pasadena Hospital and her recommendation. I'm grateful of how we best partner with the community, with the city. First, I'll say thank you. The partnership has been strong with the city. The hospitals have a community advisory council that meets at least quarterly. Commissioner Neidinger is a regular attendant. Fire Chief Mixon has attended before. Carly Lewis has attended. So the city is well represented. It also includes local business owners, deans from St. Petersburg College, those types of leaders that all come together. It's partly for us to share updates on the hospital, but equally for us to hear updates from the community of what they need for healthcare services, what feedback they have for us. And out of it this year, we've also started a patient family advisory council for patients and families to give us feedback, specifically to their care and their quality of care. Partly today, I believe, is to talk about the services at the hospital for about the past 9 months, what we've changed post-hurricane, what we still provide. And we think that message has been numerous times told over, but we're still finding some inconsistencies. And so it's partly to clarify that and to get your recommendations of how we make sure that message is held. So certainly proud. After the 2 hospitals where we had some heroic efforts, but the hospitals did take some damage. As you all know, we had what we call the Tiger Dam, a dam built around the hospital. We have a little bit of footage of that too, Carly. I'm not sure the hospital building would have been preserved without it. The campus got over 3 feet of water. We had maybe a quarter of an inch come in, a small section of the hospital, but essentially the hospital was untouched. Milton did a little bit of damage as well to the building. But we also evacuated 4 times over the course of 25 months ahead of hurricanes, had the damage, and tried to decide what was the right thing to do. Certainly keeping emergency services first and foremost we've kept. It has been unchanged in what we provide at the hospital. The one exception is we did close the cardiac cath lab based on demand and making sure that we had enough volume to keep the quality of care that we wanted. We consolidated those services with a sister hospital in the area. But otherwise, emergency services have not changed for what we provide the entire duration. So we're 24/7 with doctors, nurses, support services. Always have board-certified physicians to support that. And actually, we have now partnered as of December with Sunstar, so they have a substation in our hospital. So if you see an ambulance parked in front of the hospital, to my knowledge, that's their first substation in over 5 years on a hospital campus. And in part, they did that because they were struggling, or I think to support their beach response time to the beaches community. I assume that includes South Pasadena, because as demand changed after the hurricane, and you may know they use an algorithm to decide where their trucks are parked based on the likelihood of another call, they were getting pulled further and further from the beach communities. They were slower to respond to emergencies, and so this helps that partnership collectively. The other items that are essentially the same at the hospital are the majority of the outpatient services. So if it's radiology or imaging, if it's lab services, we have a wound care center, physical therapy, a few others. The vast majority of all of those are still there today. Equally the same for outpatient surgery and endoscopy. We still provide those services. We'll perform somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,500 procedures this year as a hospital. Very heavy in orthopedic, spine, general surgery. We added bariatric surgery in the last about 6 months back to the hospital. And so continue to have those services with us. In some ways, we're a destination hospital. There are about 75 people a year get specialized jaw surgery. It's called TMJ. Some come from out of the area. They stay locally. And it's a specialized physician named Brian Shaw. So we've really tried to position the hospital as boutique, this specialized level of service we're able to provide. Those patients can stay in the hospital, spend the night on our 3rd floor. Half the rooms overlook Boca Ciega Bay. We can sell the hospital if we need to, but it's a beautiful area and a good partnership. Probably what has changed the most is we did collaborate and consolidate a lot of the medical and especially the intensive care with St. Petersburg Hospital nearby. It's about 4.5 miles up 66th Avenue. It allowed St. Petersburg Hospital to add more intensive care, and partly just based on community demand after the hurricanes. And not only from an economic perspective, but even a clinical end, it's difficult to provide the expected level of care when you may have one of those patients per week or per month versus having them collaborative. So it is meaning we're transferring more patients to a sister hospital We have that discussion with Sunstar and Pinellas County Emergency Management of how that relationship looks. We moved the 2 hospitals under one tax ID for that purpose, to make it easier for patients from a billing perspective and a medical record perspective. But we also moved 100 jobs, roughly. We know that meant some confusion, where I will give HCA Healthcare, our parent company, credit. This was not a reduction in force. One person got a severance in the entire change. Everybody else had a position within the organization. And 6 months later, we were still roughly over 90% retention of all of those colleagues at both campuses that either moved or stayed. So I think the company went out of their way to take care of people. The people have been amazing. So if I look at Pasadena Hospital 2026 going forward, emergency room, obviously 24/7, that hasn't changed. I know we have the bright sign outside of the hospital saying we have emergency services that perhaps some nearby residents or businesses aren't crazy about, but we want to make sure the community knows that we're open. And then elective care, and then it's really surgical, and we also have a phenomenal inpatient rehab unit in the hospital. For residents, it may take 2 or 3 weeks. They get intensive therapy, physiatry support. So all of that exists today. One I know we've discussed with the city, just for transparency, there is one very old medical office building on the campus that's 40-plus years old. We did purchase it last year. We did not own it before. And either that building's going to need some structural and cosmetic work, or we're going to need to knock it down and build something new. So you may see that in the future. We really haven't publicized it. I want to be upfront with the commission since I'm presenting today of what may come this year. But I will tell you that was also a heavy investment by HCA into the campus of our hospital. And it just was a building that in many ways didn't meet the standard of what we think is going to be needed down the road for the community, even if it's not in 2026. So I hope that helps clarify. Again, we've had great partnership with the city. I know we joined a block party that the fire department helped host. We've had a couple events that the city has participated in. I'm certainly reflective if you all have questions or suggestions of how we keep partnering and getting that message out. But I will just finish by thanking the medical staff, the colleagues. We're still collectively probably 250 people strong at Pasadena Hospital's campus, and they are just dedicated and do an excellent job. So I will finish by saying thank you to them.
I have nothing but compliments when anybody goes there, so it's always great. It's good to get caught up again on this. I know we talked about it a while back, which when you were shutting down the top floor, but that was basically for a lot of reasons. So, I mean, when you tell me they didn't even have any bathrooms up there, right, or something for the staff, or?
The ICU has no bathrooms.
Right.
That is correct.
Yeah, so that was different. But no, I mean, it's just, this is good, and in fact, I might put a few of these out at the condo where I live, so that people got an idea, put them up on the boards in the mailroom, and just in case they have any questions or what's going on and whatever else. But so far, nobody's hit me up with anything, so we're doing good. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I get to see Commissioner Geiger once a month, once a quarter at least, which thank you.
That's a
She-
good group.
It
Yeah.
is.
You're a good diverse group, and everybody's got a good idea. Share it.
Now you got a new burger bunker coming across the street.
Yeah.
Grab
I
something
didn't
to
know
eat.
that, actually.
Yeah, Kelly's is gone, now you got a burger place,
Yeah,
yeah.
there you go.
That's good. That means investment back in.
We're very happy about that, yes.
Anybody got any questions for anybody?
It's awesome.
No?
Thank you for
Good stuff.
clarifying
Thanks for
that.
Yeah.
this.
Happy to come by anytime,
Yeah.
if there's meetings that we need to. Just thank you for the partnership.
If
Alright.
there's
Thank you.
anything that you can
Thank
think
you.
of that we can be doing to help, because I
Oh,
think
yes,
the
yeah.
biggest issue that we're hearing staff-wise is the confusion about what services are available. And so just from our perspective, and from you all in talking to the community, we hear a lot that the public just doesn't know what is there.
Right.
So whatever you all can help us do to make
Would
sure
there
that the
be,
community knows
would
that
it
they're
be-
still there.
Would it be appropriate for us to put something, I don't know, similar to this or whatever on our Facebook page or something like that? So, you know, we know you got questions, Council Commission met with Brent or whatever, and.
I mean, yeah, we
or
could.
I don't know if you think that would help ease
Yeah,
some of
we
the
absolutely
questions and
can.
stuff that
Actually,
you're
if
getting.
you all wanna keep chatting, I can have Kelly take a picture and we can do a post that you came today and that we discussed, you know, the services of the hospital, and, you know, we can do it that way if you,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's also your idea of putting it out at the condo or on
Yeah, that's
whatever
I was gonna put it in our
monthly
condo.
magazines or whatever they do at the condo.
Yeah.
Probably a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I got my article I gotta write here so I can add something in there about it.
Mhm. So, Cause that's what we think it is it's confusion about what's there and what's not.
Right.
And so whatever we can do to help make sure that people know they still have that resource in their backyard.
So you want to kind of get a picture of all of us?
She just took one while we were just talking.
Okay.
So she just stood up and took one, which I think that would be great for us to do. And then anything you can invite us to is helpful. Any kind of ceremonies or anything you have over there, because it's other ways for us to be able to say, hey, we were over at the hospital, they have this, they have that. So you all have quite the social media presence as we have discussed. So let us know.
We've actually been here before, it's meaningful, but May is National Nursing Week, it's National Hospital Week, it's National EMS Week, so.
Yeah.
I'm
And
gonna
we've been
share some of
involved in that
with you.
before, so if you, in whatever ways we can, let us know. We'll be there, we'll be involved.
You
And-
guys also do like bed races?
That's during hospital week
Yeah.
typically, yes,
Yeah,
Fun.
we saw that. That was fun.
Okay, when you have that.
Yeah, that was a good time.
we do. Gamification of competition in hospitals,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
Oh,
right,
God,
that's right.
yeah.
But,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, good, all right.
Thank you,
Brent,
thank you. for the
Thanks,
support.
Brent.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brent.
Always good to see you, my friend. Have a wonderful day, okay? Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next item is going to be ways to attract business to the city.
I put that on there because, you know, I was out observing, if you'll notice from when you leave out of Pasadena there at Jay's Fabric, that is 66 going out, you go all the way up to Tyrone, there's not any closed businesses along there. But you get in our little section and they're closed, and everybody's saying, you know, it's like a ghost town. So I just felt like we need to think about something to do to attract businesses. I had been working with two people, and they were saying, well, what is Pasadena gonna do for us? Well, we are a small town, I tell them, and we don't have a lot of money that we could allocate toward anything like that. But I did a research with people, I'm on the Tampa Bay planning board. I asked them what they did for their little small towns, and some of them put that speedy permits, no permit fee, that some of that they did offer. I know we can only have it for like 6 months. Some business coming in has to sign an agreement that if they decide to leave, like Kelly's did, you still have to pay that money that we let you not pay. But I just thought we ought to get our thinking caps on and think of ways that we can make our town, you know, especially with, I don't want to say there's a certain one along the way. They look kind of shabby, not painted, and it just doesn't look good on us, I don't think. So I wanted us all to think about that. Maybe we could come up with something, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I thought about it some in the past and now, and done a little bit of research on it. And a lot of it boils down to financial incentives.
Yes.
Is usually what they like.
Yes.
Whether it be not having to pay sales tax or whatever to the city for the time, or lowering the permit fees when they come in.
Right.
Even if it was like 50% or that kind of thing. And I saw one city, wasn't in Florida, where they had some buildings like we have that people left because of damage from tornadoes or whatever like that, and they offered that incentive just on those buildings. Wasn't sure how that worked out, but they had like we had like the Wendy's or something, say, well, if somebody would come in here, we'll give you 50% off the permit. But then how does that affect someone in a little store that might be coming in? Are we, not being fair to everybody? So it would have to be probably around anybody who would come in at that point. But we could take a time period also, I read about, where you take like 6 months or you take a year to say, from here to here, we're going to, anybody comes in that either wants to build a new business or rehab a current business, we're going to do blank, blank, blank for you to help you do this. So. And that might be the way to go. That way you're not locked into it forever. You've set a date and a time, kind of like we did with the permits when people's houses got damaged. And just see if we can attract people to come in. I do know right now, we've got a lot happening. I mean, you've got Chipotle has started over there. They got their screens up. So they're gonna be building a brand-new building. We've got was it True Leaf coming into the Emergency Care Center. You've got the Burger Munger coming in. You've got next to Regions, that little 4-unit strip mall that's gonna be built. I mean, there's a lot gonna be happening along there. I know, and that's gonna be, an incentive for other people. Anybody who owns a business that comes through and sees all this building up might take more notice at us.
Right.
Back to what I talked about a meeting or two ago about how we've got our local businesses don't even claim to be in our city. I thought we might try to do some type of an incentive with them, maybe just to get them to change their advertising to show that they're here. If we could, I don't know if we could, but pay for half of the printing or something to redo their menus or whatever. Anything that can get our name out is going to help other businesses want to come in. And then we had the community meeting here on the 31st, which I heard there was over 30 people showed up. So I mean, that right there was a good showing, and I guess it went pretty well. I mean, was there anybody mad or?
No, I mean, there's always questions or suggestions that are things that the city can't necessarily do, because I think if you're not in what we're doing, sometimes it's hard to know what the government's role is and what it's not. Like private property rights, some of the things that were suggested were like, we can't force a business to do X, Y, and Z. We can't, you know, we can't do, but there were a lot of good suggestions. There's a lot of good interest. And then Ford Pinellas met with some business leaders that were here at that meeting, and they've set up some individual meetings with those business leaders outside of that situation as well. So the process is going.
Are they gonna have another one of these meetings?
I believe so. The next step is they're getting feedback from these businesses. They're gonna take the feedback that we got from that community meeting to put together basically a summary of that feedback to come in and talk to you all again. But,
Right, and that meeting's available on our YouTube channel right at this point, right? So we can check it out.
oh no, I'm sorry, it's not.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I sent you guys the presentation for it. It was very much discussion based, and so it was a lot actually out in the lobby because they brought in poster boards. So it really wasn't something that we could record, but we have the presentation itself. We could make public. We sent it to you guys. But that presentation was basically just to give some background on what the meeting was for, and so that was very brief at the beginning, and the rest of it was a lot of just open, like small group discussion out in the lobby, because they had materials they wanted people to mark. What do you like? What do you not like? And people were putting notes and Post-its and stickers on things, and so that was the format.
Well, at your staff meetings, when you're meeting with everybody, have you guys talked about this at all, about what the city could do for incentives or anything among yourselves?
A little bit more so in a way of what can we do process-wise. That their idea is the creation of an overlay category that would go onto our maps. That if businesses were to come in, here are some incentives that they would get if they were to do X, Y, and Z. One of them is like expedited permitting. And so there's different checklists that we can implement that will make things go quicker. For example, if you sign or attest that you're going to put in like a landscaping plan that is within code and you meet these other things, you can just check that you did it. Whereas other companies coming in, if you're not utilizing those incentives, you have to actually tell us where you're putting your landscaping. Which it takes more time. You have to create the plan, we have to review it, get back to you. If you're going through this expedited process, you just go, yep, we're gonna do it, and then, so that is all proposed as part of this process that they're wanting to put in. So there are some of those incentives going that will be proposed to you all.
Is there anything that Kelly can do as far as, because the media, everybody's social media, put something on there about us or not? About what we are, say, open, like you say, open for business.
Open for business, there you go. Yeah.
We can, the problem that we have found there is it would be difficult to feature certain properties because we don't necessarily know if those property owners even want to be featured. You know, we all can think of off the top of our head a couple of vacant properties that we would love to look very different. However, those owners may or may not feel that way.
Can we
And
do a generalization? You don't have to say a certain property.
Come to South Pasadena, don't have to mention any certain properties or
Yeah.
anything.
I mean, we
Yeah.
can.
Something like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah,
bigger
we could-
businesses,
yeah.
something we can either email or mail out, physically mail out
Yeah.
to companies or whatever, I don't know, just trying to get people to come in. That might wanna help with this idea that they've got, the Ford Pinellas is pushing for us, to have the outbuildings at some of those strip malls, I mean, the malls we have now.
Mhm.
Out there in front of Winn-Dixie, out there on the side of Publix, well, not Publix, Publix got no room left, not even for parking.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, something to help bring things in.
And that was a part of the discussion with the community that happened at the meeting, was letting them know, you know, we know you wanna see change. There may be some things that you have to give a little bit on if you wanna see that change.
Yeah.
And everybody seemed very receptive to the fact that some
Right.
things would have to be a little bit different.
Was discussion brought up at that meeting about heights, building heights?
Not really.
I was interested in what people thought about that.
Not really. This was more things like setbacks and
Okay.
landscaping, which setbacks is a big one for us because our buildings are required to be so far away from the road. It really limits what you can do. You just can't build as much space, especially because you can't go up. The thought was if we address setbacks, that can kind of give a bigger bang for your buck without having to go much higher. They felt that because we already have the mixed use category, that if someone really wanted to go higher, they could use the mixed use category because that does have an extra height benefit already built in. So their thought was you already have a tool for that if someone wants to use it.
So if somebody wanted to go one floor higher than what we normally allow,
I
the
think
process?
that one goes up to, I think it's like 65 feet, where otherwise it's like 40.
That's a six-story building.
But that's, so you have to meet the mixed use, so the city gets a benefit from you doing that. So it's additional footage to utilize that. So Ford Pinella said you're better off focusing right now on where buildings can go rather than the height of them, because they showed some aerials, which I think were in the materials that were sent to you guys. It was sort of like the main corridor of South Pasadena is very much just pavement. It's a lot of parking. It is a lot of empty pavement. So you could have businesses that are open and doing fine, but even they don't look real great because it's a big parking lot out front. So it's trying to address that a little bit, that even the things that are healthy businesses, trying to make sure that they look healthy as well.
And all of this is
So-
only in the framework too, with SB 180, you can't make any.
We can't
more
do a whole
zoning
lot, yeah.
Changes to the city until, I think it's October 1st of next year, hopefully, assuming no more disasters, but.
Yeah.
So they're really working to try to do something within that framework, which is difficult.
It's tough. It's tough. So,
Well, I know Linda's been really active. She's talked to some business owners about coming in and about trying to get them. Did you ever get any more information out of the other sandwich shop guy?
Well, we're working on it.
Yeah. I know he wanted quite a bit in the beginning. I don't know if they
Yeah,
lowered the.
well, his partner is all for it, and we had to convince him, but the owners of the building, of course, the amount of money I told you they wanted for it, I told him, you're letting it sit there, you're losing money every day that you let it sit there, and it's been there for a while.
Yeah.
So, they're both talking still, but the one that you sent me over by, the, mobile home.
Which I was surprised that I never knew that
They-
the limousine place used to be is owned by the mobile home park.
Yes, it is, and that where Attorney Rice building, and they will build that to suit the tenant, whoever comes in. So they're picking up the cost on that, because they had to take out all the walls in there and everything, So that's another, a good advantage for someone coming in, that building, and you got all this parking on the right.
Yeah, I know, it's got great park.
They don't want to sell it, though, they just want to lease it,
Yeah.
so.
Well, some of these buildings really could use a good demolition.
Yeah.
And I wonder, because that's a big expense too. Anybody coming in, some of these buildings, they're just old and need to go.
They're being very reasonable on their rent there, more so than some others,
Really?
just to get somebody in there, you know?
Okay. So, I guess going forward, we're just gonna try to look for some ideas. If you guys can put something together for us, some type of a package, and if Kelly can come up with some type of a marketing scheme, just to market the city as this is where you wanna be.
Yeah.
And,
Just think, if Terry gets requests for people that want to come and build a business in the city, if she were to let us know, is there anything that we could do to help that situation along?
Case by
Maybe,
case,
maybe not.
probably. I mean, the thing is, a lot of the businesses, when they contact the city, they don't want to be talked about yet. They don't,
That's
you know what I
true.
mean?
That's true.
A lot
They
of this
don't-
is
right.
very sensitive. That's
Yeah,
the
it is.
tough part is
Yeah,
a
because
lot.
they might change their mind.
They don't, yeah, they're weighing out different things, they're putting out, they don't want waves, they don't want.
Especially if it's
they
a
don't-
corporate business.
Yeah, there's a lot that
Yeah.
they don't want it out there, and so that is the tough part, is trying to do all of this while also respecting the businesses and the property owners, because we may want what we want, which is well-intentioned for the city, but it's not what they wanna do,
True.
so.
That's where Chipotle was when I talked to him, and he said, "What do you think of Chipotle?" And I said, "We love it." He said, "Don't let it out."
Don't
I
say
told you,
anything.
Don't say
Yeah.
anything
Yeah.
until,
Yeah.
and then
Oh,
he
yeah.
finally came
Yeah.
out, so.
I mean, that's something that would be turning businesses off, is if they call the city for
Gotcha.
information,
Right.
and then all of a sudden it's out there, or people are calling them, hey, I hear you called and you're looking at, like, they don't want that, so, it's,
Looks like we got that big piece of land where Jay's Fabrics is.
Oh, God,
my
and it's
gosh.
looking worse every day.
so that, I mean, as far as we know,
It's
there had
bad
been
over there.
interest in a car wash and
Right.
that, we've not been told that that's not happening, they just haven't
Done anything.
moved forward, they've submitted some stuff, but haven't kept it going, so it's kind of been a
Did
little
they
bit.
purchase?
I looked it up yesterday.
No,
I looked it up yesterday and it
No,
still
I think
belongs
so.
to Arthur J.
Yeah, it still belongs to them, yeah.
In fact, he took it out of a trust in 2023 and put it in his own name, for.
I don't know if that made it easy, if he was doing that to try to make it easier to sell, I'm not
maybe it
I
sure.
will say that I do get emails from Leverox about specials, and they say, in the heart of sparkling downtown South Pasadena.
There you go, that's George Lewis,
Yeah.
So
big
it
fan of
it
George
is there.
Lewis, yeah.
I'm not sure it's there in their advertising or other things, but
I think it's on their
Maybe, well,
materials,
there you
yeah.
go.
You gotta polish it
And
up then to keep
sparkling
that sparkling.
Yeah,
downtown.
it's sparkling, yeah, so,
Gotta
South
buff it up a little
Pasadena.
bit.
We sparkle.
Does that make you happy?
That's right, that
I
makes me
knew
happy.
that would.
So, the other thing is, several years ago, we had, Ford Pinellas created it was a web link that we had on our website that was useful for businesses that might want to come in. I remember you could go in there and you could see the density, you could see permits, you could see different things. And the other day I went into our website and it's there, but when you click on it, it says it's been retired. The link has been retired. And would that ever helpful, you think, for anyone?
so I think
Well, I know we had to
they
pay every year
stopped-
for an update.
Yeah, and but they stopped doing it on their end as well, I believe.
Oh, okay.
And so it wasn't necessarily even just that we stopped. I think they potentially stopped because I think I don't want to speak for them, but what I was hearing was that they were getting mixed feedback from that because it did give a lot of information on properties and some people didn't like that. I don't know if you remember, we got some feedback, for example, from like Causeway Village, because if you look at it, part of it was mapping out basically underutilized properties where the program would evaluate the value of a property versus the buildings and the usage of it and tell you, you could make more from this property if it was utilized in a different way.
Crazy.
And a lot of people didn't like seeing that. And that's the tough part, is we're trying to balance like attracting and growth with not wanting to put attention on those people that don't want it. As much as we would love for things to be, growing and whatnot. You could technically own a piece of property on Pasadena Avenue and leave it vacant forever if you wanted to. It's your right as a as long as it's within code, it can, that's the tough part. And there are some people that are not feeling any urgency, we'll say. And so it's less about even getting people to come there and more about like, how do we make it more urgent for people to sell or to lease for more reasonable prices or what, it just,
Well, I think, and that's, the main problem we run into is that the property owners who don't have a business or the businesses left don't do anything to keep the building kept up. You gotta get on them to cut the grass. The place looks terrible on the outside. The last I looked at Wendy's, there was a huge tree that had fallen over in the driveway. It was still laying there in the last week, I don't know if it's there now. It was a big dead tree that was back by their drive-through sign, and just laying across the road. And I was like, they were gonna come and get it, they were gonna come and get it.
I think I saw a giraffe coming through the grass at Jay's Fabric. I mean,
Looks
the
like the
grass is,
Serengeti,
well,
huh?
and I know Terry is very good about going after these empty lots with the, junky looking.
Yeah.
And actually not to, but it's a good thing Brent left. The grass over in the empty lot there in between the hospital is pretty crappy too. I mean, they've gotta do stuff, or we've gotta stay on top of it.
so this will be a little bit of a discussion. It's something that Terry and I are talking about and coming into you all. And so our code enforcement process right now is, it is a reactive
Yes.
code enforcement.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, you just don't necessarily we can't enforce some things and not others.
Yeah, that's true.
However, if the city is feeling like we are having code issues, we can decide we're gonna ramp up code enforcement and we're gonna do some proactive code enforcement. Now you gotta take the bad with the good with that
is the
because
problem.
you will have people coming in going, why is the city after me for this and this and this and this?
Yeah.
When you weren't before and no one's complaining. It's like, well,
Well,
we
got a good
can't
reason right
just
now.
fix
We
the
got
stuff
residents that
like-
are upset because the city is losing businesses.
Yeah.
It looks terrible,
Yeah.
because people aren't keeping them up. Not that I think it looks that bad, but everybody else does.
Yeah.
And so we need to,
Yeah.
everybody got a little slack. Now we need to bring
Well,
it
but
back
that's
up.
what I'm saying. But I don't. I'm trying to figure out if we can up code enforcement specifically in commercial areas without doing the same thing residentially. Because to us it feels different, but to a property owner it's not. You own property, you own property. So it's sort of like, be careful what you wish for, homeowners, because if you're going down Pasadena Avenue with more of a fine-tooth comb, we likely have to go through your neighborhoods with that same comb as well. And so that's the, people don't think of it that way. It's like, go beautify that business, but leave me alone with my fence that's a little tipped over. It's
Yeah.
kind of like, just be careful
Yeah.
what you wish for. But that is a discussion that we are planning to have with you all, because you would need to be prepared to deal with that response.
And when I was first elected to office, I was the commissioner for Public Works, and we had what was called the beautification committee, and I would meet with them, and they would go out, and they was a bunch of volunteers, and they would clean up the area, they would pick stuff up under the bridge and things like that. But they also, once a year, we did an award to who had the best looking home, who had the best looking business, and they would put a sign out there after it was voted on and they won, and like, this is the house of the year or whatever, for what all the, and people would actually get out in their yards and do things. They'd plant flowers and stuff like that, so they could get this sign saying that, they won this award from the city.
I think that's
And
a good
businesses
idea.
would do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe something like that needs to be brought back in again. A little something Sean could help with there. Yeah, I know he loves doing extra meetings. Him and his commissioner.
We all love a good
We
committee.
get him back from Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Long enough, yeah. But no, it was a good committee, and people are kind of wanting things now, so maybe the committee would come back together. I know we were losing people at the time. and
That was part of the
that's why we
problem, is
eliminated it.
after people quit, we couldn't
But
get
now
people
when you
to
talk
serve
to
on
people
it.
about a beautification thing, that would also be able to pick out the homes of the year or whatever, they might want to get back in it, because it would help everything, especially if people know they're on businesses and homes that this is that time. Oh my God, we need to start getting our house looking good. We want to be, there's people that love their homes, people that love what their yards look like. So, Might be an idea, just throwing that out there.
I
Wink,
got-
wink.
I got one other question, back to the meeting that you had, and I don't know if this is a fair question or not. Do you know how many business owners were there compared to private citizens, percentage-wise?
There
I don't
were
know.
roughly 30 people. There were 4 business owners that I know of.
Okay, that's.
There
what I was
could have been
curious
more
about.
that I don't know.
Yeah, right. I figured you didn't take a
Yeah.
roll call, but.
There were 4 that I
was just curious.
recognized by
Okay.
just knowing who they are.
Okay, so.
So,
Yep, thank you.
All right, any further discussion, guys, on that? We're good? Okay, let's go on to the next item, which is the SB 180, training for elected officials.
Boy.
I'm gonna see if Matt wants to come up on this. I sent some information out on it. I don't know if you got a chance to read it.
I haven't read
There's-
some of it yet.
Yeah.
what's here?
There's some new requirements out there for some trainings
have.
that you guys will need to get. I will be emailing you the information to be able to take those. They're online courses, so it's not difficult. But it is a new requirement for you guys, so I'll turn it over to him.
Deputy Chief Matt Worth sitting in for Chief Mixon. He's on a much-needed vacation for 2 weeks, actually. So I'll be in this position for a little bit. So if you guys need anything, obviously, you guys know where I'm at. I was kind of just introduced to this yesterday, so forgive me if I don't know real specifics on it yet. The only thing the chief wanted me to confirm, and this is mostly for Kristen, is whether or not this training, as you can see there, and I think you have the same literature I have, maybe a different page. Here, do you need mine? So basically what this is it's the 1 point. State legislature passed Senate Bill SB 180, and you guys have already been kind of listening about this. This was passed in May of 2025, signed by the governor in June 26th. And basically what this is in a nutshell is it allows people like yourself, elected officials, to have some sort of biannual training on what the process is before, during, and after
No,
an
it's an
emergency
email.
situation is as far as your roles and responsibilities as elected officials. And what this training allows you to do is the state's really pushing this intercommunication between the county, right, and the local city officials, right? So that way, during a disaster, you guys know what your part is as an official, right, and what that means. Now, on top of not only yourselves, it also directs people like directors of certain departments, people like myself, that also has to go through this training. So the one thing the chief just wanted to make sure that we were kind of on top of was it says in here that it's up to each entity's legal counsel to determine which positions within their organization meet that statutory requirement. So I think that's something that maybe Kristen, and you can chime in on this, would have to kind of define on who would be responsible to go through that training.
Yeah, I can confirm that in an email later,
Okay.
just to go through and make sure I get everybody, but off the top of my head, I mean, we have the administrator, public works director.
Yep.
It's all of us.
Yeah, it's pretty much
And
everyone.
and honestly,
Fine.
But I want to go through it, and make sure I
yes,
get
and
everybody.
I agree. And I think that's
Yeah.
how I interpret it as well. But again, obviously legal would.
We all
Well, it
did
also
too.
says that, Florida senior elected officials, so is that 55 and older? Is that?
That's a good question.
How many years you gotta be in office to be a senior?
And I know, and based on, you guys have the literature in front of you as well, and really what it outlines is that biannual training is something that would be some sort of class that you would take virtually. There would be 3 to choose from. And if you looked in there, it's specific to exactly what it is your responsibility is. So for example, Public Works might take more of a coordinating officer course where maybe you as elected officials would take the senior elected. Obviously, no pun intended there.
Really a bad thing.
No.
It's
I
not.
mean, it's good for
Well,
people
these
to
courses
us to know
available
what's going
now.
on.
They are. They're available now. It's a certificate that you would get after your 4 hours that you did. And then what we would do is we would update, and it would probably be myself and the chief would update your certificates to what's called Cert Tracker, which is through the state, which allows us to keep track of your certification. It does mention in there, you guys probably see it, it does say that if you're once appointed to the position, you have 12 months to get this training done. Now, you're obviously elected officials, you're already there. Now, I don't know, this would be for Kristen, maybe on how long we have.
July 1st.
July 1st, there you go. So July 1st of this year.
So,
Getting a little.
is there a link for these classes?
There is.
I'm gonna send it to you.
Oh, you'll send it to us?
Yeah.
Oh,
I think the main, the thing I wanted to just, of course, mention was what the requirements were, who would have to take it. And then I would, as far as our part, I can't speak for the chief, but I think we would help with the certification process and kind of navigating through the courses with you guys.
I can follow up too with an email, but I think it's safe to say, most everybody.
I think so, yeah.
We're
and
just
I-
all gonna do
Yeah,
it.
and I do think it's gonna be highly beneficial for you all because, you know, I know that just speaking with Carly and a few others, like what is our role kind of when this happens? Obviously, we wanna take a pre-stance on a lot of this stuff, like what should we do beforehand? But it's mostly the aftermath of, you know, what is happening with real live information as it's coming in? What are you supposed to do as local officials as far as communicating that with your county, you know, EOC departments and that kind of stuff? So I think it helps bridge that gap of communication between you all and the county, as well as local other city officials in your area.
so if we take the course online, are you automatically notified that we've taken it, or do we need to
So
let
you would
know?
have a printed out certificate?
There's
correct
a,
me if I'm
there's a
wrong.
process where you have to like fill a thing in that you did it and send it. It's,
Who's putting on the class?
It's
FM?
FDEM in coordination with Pinellas County. So Pinellas County
Well, I
is kind
remember
of.
there was some type of a government training thing that the chief put us through before.
Yes.
I had to go sign up in there and
I-
those are classes you could take on different things.
Yes, and that's for a lot of the county offers that through the state. Very similar, so they're kind of coordinating the two between them, but that's
Okay.
how, we would get the information to you on how you would take the course.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Training's good.
Yep.
Keep you sharp.
Yeah, very much so. If there are no other questions on that?
No, I just have a question though. Do you know if the chief was notified about our emergency operating center? The hospital, I mean the church?
Yes.
Yes.
He was, okay. All right, just wanted to make sure that
So that isn't.
got
gonna
out there.
be
I had mentioned to it when they were thinking about it, and I got the, for sure, last
Yes.
week, so.
They're gonna take it down.
Well, but no, it's the LEC where they met at, they
Oh,
didn't meet in
right.
the church. Yeah.
Our hope is that we're able to go back in the future. My understanding is that because of some construction that's going on, they're having to relocate things from one
Yeah.
area of their building somewhere else while they're doing construction. So the hope is then in the future, that space would be available to us again,
Yeah.
but it is
All
not.
those areas are
It is
returning,
not this
returning
year.
into classrooms. and-
Yeah.
Good.
I'm on the LEC committee to decide
Yeah.
what to do with the inside of it, so what we can switch it around.
Right, right. So, okay.
Not an
I
ideal
just know it's so
situation.
late in the year already to
Yeah.
start looking for a place. I know we had a secondary location, which I guess
We
might
did.
become your first.
Which would be St. Pete College.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is again, not ideal, but, you know, and also that structure at the church was a little problematic with the infrastructure as far as the stability of it. We almost lost the awning. Were you with us?
Oh, yeah.
With that?
Yeah.
So, you know, I did have some concerns with it, as far as its rating for a category. So
Right.
It's not a bad option to be looking at.
They've been very good to us, yeah.
And they have.
We're
Oh, yeah,
very,
yeah,
yeah,
And
very
it-
grateful to
Yeah,
have
I
had
know
that
Anita there is
option.
gonna miss everybody. She loves cooking for you guys, taking
Yeah.
care of you. and,
We love Anita.
Yeah, and I think,
Thank
again,
you.
it would be nice if we could get back there, and maybe one day.
Yeah.
But to your point, yes, he is aware.
Okay, I just wanna make sure.
Yes, and I believe him and a few other fire chiefs, emergency directors from around the Gulf Beach
Already know what's happening. Good.
determining on where that's gonna be. The hope is that hopefully we don't have to utilize that,
Yeah.
but they do have an option on the table, and I think they're gonna be looking for other options as well.
Okay, perfect. Anybody have any questions? We good?
Awesome. We don't have to do that?
Yeah, that's the objective right here, the goal.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Not another hit.
But anyway, that's the.
Okay. Oops, sorry.
And then Carly, if you need to, the cert track information, I can get that to you guys too.
I think I have it, but I'll let you know.
All right.
Thank you very much. Okay, I guess that is everything we have on the agenda. Is anybody else got any updates or anything for us?
Not an update, but a comment, question. So, starting the charter review next Monday, and what we've decided to do in the charter review is we have set up three-hour sessions. So we're gonna hit as much of it as we possibly can. And what I wanted to get input from the commissioners, if there's anything that you wanted me to address. So can't talk to you privately, but we can talk in public, so if there's anything you can think of, I've already sent my personal list, which is about 4 or 5 things, to Carly, and I know she's already been communicating with several of the other charter committee members, but I didn't know if there was anything specific that the commissioners wanted us to focus on.
Yeah, well, the only thing that I noticed over all the years, and this goes through phases, and sometimes very long phases, where nobody runs for election, and we wind up having to appoint someone because they've termed out, they can't run again. So, and I know about 7 years ago or 8 years ago, we asked the population to change our terms from 3-year terms to 4-year terms, so we get 3 4-year terms now. But I don't know if it's time to look at it, just eliminating, make you come back in every 4 years to run again, but eliminate how long you can run for. If it would, because we're a small town, and I ran into this when I was managing condominiums. After a while, nobody wants to be on the board. I'm retired now, I've done that, I don't want to do it again. And you get to that point, and so I don't know if that might be, the people would have to vote on it, of course, by referendum. And if they said no, they said no, but it's one of the things I thought that might be useful in the future for different things. I think that they ought to review the section on pay. Things is going up so much for.
Pay is
for
only
commission.
for the commissioners?
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's in the charter?
Yep.
Okay.
To set a base pay or whatever, base pay increase over what it is now, just because of what the cost of everything is, and it's not going down. I don't care what anybody says, it's not gonna go back down. So, you can get around about it, but it ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I can't think of anything else. Gail, anything that was on your mind,
No,
maybe?
it worries me that we add too much money into it. And you get people that are really not coming here to serve, they're coming here to
Right.
supplement their income. We've had that before,
Yeah,
where people
sure.
are,
Kinda
getting,
get crazy with it.
they're not really the people that you'd want doing it because they're not actually active in doing things other than coming to a meeting. But they're using the money to supplement their income, and it's substantial. I mean, if you're looking at somebody on Social Security for $1,000 a month, and they get $1,000 more by being a commissioner, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, and those people usually got in because somebody termed out.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the term
Otherwise, if
thing
that
is
person
an
would have
issue.
ran against them, they probably would have got back in.
Yeah, that's true.
A knowledgeable person, they usually get back in over someone who has no knowledge about what's
It's
happening.
just
We
that,
had
you know,
one
it's not
withdraw
all.
because of that in the race, remember? We had one that
Yep.
withdrew because they knew that they probably would not be elected because someone else was running.
Right, just a
Anyway.
thought.
That's all. Yeah, just kind of things, and see what they think about it, and like I said, it's not up to us anyway, it's up to the residents of the city.
Well, we have a really good charter group, so, yeah, I mean, we've got a past commissioner on the group, and we've got some very, very good people on there, so I think there's gonna be a lot of great discussion. But so if you think of anything else, they can go directly to you, right? So directly to Carly, but I've had I know you memorized the charter at some point in your career. I've read it
Yeah.
3 or 4 times in the last
It's not a
month.
lot, it's
so-
really not a lot there when you start
No,
going.
there's not. No.
It's just understanding it.
Yes.
It's pretty clear too, luckily, over
It
the
is.
years, people have clarified it, so it makes it simpler to read. I don't think this is in the charter, but it would be the only other thing that I've ever heard of any kind of a gripe about was possibly having someone like our administrator here do the reviews for the department heads. And I don't know if that's part of the charter, or if that's just something we do. I mean, like I said, I don't mind doing hers, which I think I'm very late on it. But, but it's always a perfect review, because she does such a great job for us. But I think that we have people come in that don't know these people that well, don't know exactly what they do, and all of a sudden, you're rating them on their job performance, and you're not there every day. She does get to see them and talk to them and work with them, and it just felt like that would be the way to go. Now, it could be something where she did them, but reviewed them with that commissioner, but she performed it, or whatever, I mean, but I think it's a good idea. And plus, I think it's to be an education for that commissioner, that if, to have someone that would come forward and that's straight on, this is what the problem is, because we don't know the problem all the time. And I've run into that, I've had people here that I've been, that were my directors of a department when I was a commissioner, and thinking they were doing a great job, and then kind of find out, well, you know, maybe they weren't doing that good of a job. So, because I was not there every day,
Yeah.
through every minute of their day to watch what was happening, and the way they treated their employees or whatever else. So.
The process is fascinating to me because it's a living document. I can't imagine how it started in the 1950s or 60s.
It's public
Well,
record.
Yeah, yeah, and it's all public record, but it's fascinating. You know, if I would have had a chance to read them all, how they had changed over the years would have been interesting.
Right.
So I didn't do that, but.
That was actually one of my thoughts as well, is that there is a provision in the charter that the city administrator can do all other function is delegated by the city commission by motion or by resolution. So you could delegate, and there's nothing prior that says, you know, you guys must do the reviews. So we could do it, you know, I think that's a good idea. Or we could talk about revising the charter so that it's a permanent charter provision that the city administrator performs reviews. So that was, you know, something that was on my mind as well.
Yeah, because you never know, because if you start something, there's always that chance that a future commission says, we want to do it ourselves. We don't like the review.
Exactly.
It might be good to make it a permanent thing. Okay with
Do
you, right?
whatever y'all want me to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Just add more to your
Whatever
plate, huh?
role you want, or just come to work.
Well, you know.
You
might
do
be-
wanna go home at
Might have to
night.
go
I
up
do
a
want to go
step or
home at
something.
night, yes.
Yeah.
But while I'm here, I'll do whatever you'd like me to do.
We got a lot of things we're looking into, I can tell you that.
That's good.
It's not one or two things on there, so,
Yeah, yeah.
Great.
All right, good. Okay, that's all I got.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. So we are going to adjourn. Let's go home.
Let me use